The following broadcast is brought to you by A.C.T, Agorist Center of Thought. Here only on the Voluntary Virtues Network. Every Saturday, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on the dark side of radio. Agora, Anarchy, Action. Yes. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Agora Underground. I am your host, Comrade Rick Rohde here on the Voluntary Virtues Network. Do want to appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, this is the Agora Underground, only exclusively on the Voluntary Virtues Network. We are in association with Free San Antonio, Agorist of Central Texas, and Agorist Center of Thought. And basically, just want to thank y'all for tuning in. Giving me your precious time to bring you some information that we have been bringing to you guys. As you know, we have been reading the Agorist Primer by Samuel Edward Konkin and really going to the source as to what the heck Agorism is and how it applies to the ANCAP, the Anarcho-Capitalist, the Objectivist, the free marketeer philosophy. Last week we did have an abrupt cutoff. I do hope that my gear does not shut down like last time, right? Am getting saving up for a new laptop and new gear, so should be running ace of spades. Hopefully not, right? If it does cut out, I'll be back on less than 5 minutes, and essentially I'll try to maybe get the footage off the camera. That way it's just a picture, right? Less frame rates and all this. Let's see here. Last week we cut off in the section Applied Libertarianism, and we were reading a little bit about the history of the early libertarian movement as far as the political party itself, and you know, the 60s, 70s, all the way up to the 80s, and how there was a struggle essentially within the Libertarian Party of those individuals that wanted to seek the political means, right? A party to be able to disseminate the libertarian philosophy, a party to be able to have candidates to elect and have in office, and a party that everyone could look to as a source of authority and leadership. And another wing of libertarians who saw it completely inconsistent with libertarianism itself. To have a party and a voting and democracy and all that load of trash that we know it's trash, it's inconsistent with the libertarian philosophy. Look, I mean, if you believe that stealing is wrong, then you can't become a politician, right? No matter how libertarian your policies are, your paycheck is paid for by tax dollars, unless, of course, I guess you deny your paycheck, right? And I don't know, give it away to charity or something. Even then, you're still legitimizing and supporting and essentially legitimizing, right? That's the key, really, legitimizing a system that has no legitimacy in it. And you can't negotiate with terrorists, right? So we don't want to negotiate with the state, ladies and gentlemen. These libertarians had several names to them: left libertarians, the new libertarians. So, for those of you who have not gone completely agorist, completely anarchist, I do invite you to become a new libertarian. And we were reading here on page 65. We had just finished reading about the New Libertarian Manifesto, these agorists that came out of the libertarian movement who wanted to be consistently libertarian. Let's see here. So he's on page 65, and it's a section, the libertarian failure, and Konkin continues. The libertarians were and still are a pluralistic group. Different interpretations of liberty and how to achieve it were cheerfully tolerated for the most part. The appearance of a party line was an anathema to the spirit of living variety. The burning issue shifted from which new libertarian theory works and which one does not, to which libertarian candidate can get elected and which one cannot. To many, libertarianism was a fine theory. which had no obvious practice. There are many paths to freedom, true, and each individual should choose the one he or she thought most workable. One that was chosen swallowed up the others. How it did was simple. It tied into the state's grant of monopoly to ideologies that form a centralized political party, and then spokespersons of that ideology are automatically represented as servitors or functionaries of that party, even when they vigorously deny any connection by the statist media. And then again, maybe not. Libertarian may have come to mean Libertarian Party member, but Agorist voluntarists, left libertarians, and such still outnumber the few thousand Libertarian Party members, and even the never since matched million votes their candidate Edward Clark received in the 1980 presidential race. Whether or not libertarianism failed and died, perverted so near to 1984, Orwell's deadline for tyranny's triumph in the form of an all-powerful party, or was simply a stage in the evolution of agorism, building a theory to explain and morality to defend counter-economics is not a moot point. Both positions are in a sense true. Agorism is here and viable for those who wish to live as free as possible now and increase their freedom in the future. What now calls itself libertarian cannot honestly offer that anymore. Those who understand this will reject the Libertarian Party and other political solutions to the statist problem. Those who accept the Libertarian Party will waste their time, energy, and wealth in building a new means of keeping people in bondage under the thumb of the state. This is such an unfortunate reality, my friends. This is such an unfortunate, harsh situation that we are stuck in. On one hand, many of us, myself included, came to libertarianism thanks to the presidential candidate, right? In 08, Ron Paul, right? If it wasn't for that campaign, I don't know if I would have ever come to libertarianism. But at the same time, how many of the Ron Paul supporters and Ron Paul crowd simply refuse to go beyond politics? Right? Refuse to fight the state on a level that isn't in the jurisdiction of laws, right? Of passing new laws and lobbying and referendums and just essentially asking for the state to be run in a more proper and more sensible way. Many are still stuck in that illusion, and we need to. The quicker we opt out, the quicker we form a second realm, the sooner, right? Agorism teaches. Agorism has come to the conclusion that we can rid ourselves of this beast known as the state. Calkin continues. What now calls itself libertarian, I already said this, I'm sorry, cannot honestly offer that anymore. Those who understand this will reject the Libertarian Party and other political solutions to the statist problem. Very good point. Next section here is the libertarian insight and fallacy. Libertarian theory provided a crucial insight as to why counter-economics was morally correct as well as obviously practical and very profitable. The crucial issue was that of the state, its nature, and its evolution. The easiest paradigm short model for the origin of the state was offered by Franz Oppenheimer, a German sociologist, and adapted in American Libertarianism in Albert J. Nock's 1935 book, Our Enemy, the State. All historical examples fit this simple paradigm. When most of humanity settled into peaceful farming communities with perhaps larger marketplaces, remember the original Agora of Greece in towns, some people discovered a means of surviving parasitically from the productivity of others. They formed robber bands and attacked towns and settlements, plundering, raping, and murdering. Probably the original barbarian hordes were hunters who took to hunting man when their game died out rather than taking to farming, trading, or productive manufacturing. This is a very good point on this other radio show that I do here in San Antonio, broadcast in Austin, Texas, Truth Exposed Radio on the Logos Radio networks. We were kind of looking at the synthesis at the origin of the state, using Rothbard's, anatomy of the state, and then also essentially going back to what a lot of people I'm sorry, going back to the Bible itself, right? It's a Christian radio network, so I was curious what the Bible said as far as the origin of the state. And sure enough, according to the Bible and according to many Bible scholars, the first state or the first emperor king was Nimrod, and his the first empire was his Tower of Babel, his Tower of Babel, right? Essentially, they wanted to build a tower up to the heavens, and the story goes that God had to personally come down and confuse the languages. In the Septuagint, it even says that he confused the races, the colors of the skin. But I digress. Point being is that Nimrod was apparently the first king, right? Well, oddly enough, Nimrod was a very good hunter, right? He was a great hunter. This is one of the few things that Peter Joseph, guy that runs the Zeitgeist movement, actually got kind of right. He makes the argument that the state is a result of the division of labor, of the market itself. This has some validity to it, because if we think about it, like Konkin just pointed out, you're going to have your artisans, your producers, your manufacturers, you're going to have your farmers, your agriculturalists, and you're going to have your hunting class. The hunting class, because of the division of labor and the set skills that they're training in constantly, obviously become better physically fit, stronger, adapt at war, and it eventually got to a point to where when, essentially the hunters got tired of trading for the meat that they had to hunt for. They thought it was much simpler, much more effortless to just go ahead and take it at a threat. At the threat of violence, at the threat of force, at the threat of killing and raping. And this is essentially the birth of the state. The hunting class banded together. The division of labor, dividing in the hunting class and a group of hunters into those skilled labor sets, basically became the oppressors of the rest of society. And this is the origin of the state. Men no longer hunted other game, no longer hunted animals, but became hunters of men. Men became hunters of men. This is a sad reality. So he continues on here. These roving groups were a small minority, or their victims would have died out as well. But large as compared to a single town or village, somewhere along the way, one of them discovered that they could allow the peasants to live with enough to survive on and come back the next harvest for another raid. Yes, Rothbard points this out very eloquently in his book Anatomy of the State. Right, these pillagers, this hunting class, quickly realized it's better just to let society grow and prosper, and we ask tribute of them on a monthly level instead of coming in and destroying everything they produce, which leaves a lot of booty for us at the moment, but leaves us in a tough situation down the road. He continues on here. Then these raiders had another idea. They would stay in the same town, steal lightly but regularly, murder enough to keep the peasants and merchants in line, and live well. Other areas, seeing these petty kingdoms arise, decided to submit themselves to their own homegrown warlords, so that they would not fall prey to foreign warriors. The book of Samuel in the Old Testament describes the anarchist prophet Samuel trying to convince the Israelites that they didn't really want a king, but finally given it to them. Parasites must remain in a minority, or they will eventually kill their host. So they discovered religion and later ideology as a means to intimidate peasants and win the all-important sanction of the victim. An apt phrase of Ayn Rand's Brutal thugs became kings by divine right, and some very powerful statists called emperors, pharaohs, and czars were said to be divine, the unstoppable choice of the gods. This is how the state preserves its power. It needs to align itself with divine guidance, with divine ordination. This is an issue that we have majorly with the Tea Party and the conservative wing of this United States, is that though we may sympathize on market principles and the evils of government and the importance of individualism, many of these people do believe that the United States is somehow on a divine path, a divine set course for the preservation of Israel, right? The preservation of America. They see, just look at Mormon theology, right? Look into where they believe Jesus is supposed to rule for 1,000 years from. So it's quite sickening how they've managed to pervert these religious texts, as they always do. And it's very true that parasites must remain in minority. I mean, it's just a basic observable fact. If you have more people taking than putting in, it's bound for eventual collapse, as the United States is. We have what, like 150 million people in some way, shape, or form benefiting from the plunder, so-called legal plunder of the state apparatus. What a joke! What a joke! America, home of the greed and home of the slave. Konkin continues on here, and so these barbarian raiders institutionalized plunder, taxation, murder, execution, and warfare, and even rape. Droit de seigneur, for example. They took control of roads to plunder the caravans, tolls, tariffs. They suppressed all rival criminal gangs with their own police, and established their own churches, schools, judges, and even philosophers, minstrels, and artists to work in their royal courts. Thus was born the state. As people come to understand this situation, and especially important question of conscience, split religions and ideologies, and dissidents grew. The state learned to survive by adapting. It used its court thinkers, its so-called intellectuals, to come up with new ways of mystifying the people. The kings limited themselves and shared their plunder with the aristocrats and certain favored merchants. Thus was born mercantilism, which Adam Smith challenged. Then even peasants and workers were permitted to plunder their fellow merchants, farmers, and workers. This was called democracy. Groups were allowed to organize to fight over who shall steal from whom, through an elite of bureaucrats and very rich businessmen continue no matter who is elected. So groups, right, under democracy are allowed to organize and fight over who should steal from whom, though an elite of bureaucrats and very rich businessmen continue no matter who is elected, right? We all know this. And thus we're formed political parties, or lobbyist groups, political action committees, right? Special interest groups. This is one of the grandest illusions of democracy, right? This is one of our main railings against it, is the idea that it only expanded the level of plunder, of legal plunder in society, right? Whereas before only aristocrats and kings lived off of taxation and tribute, right? And it was a yearly tax you had to pay per head of your household. Now under democracy, you have different groups being elected with their special, followers and their special interest groups and their lobbyists and all that. And all of which gain politically, gain financially, gain from stolen, plundered theft, right? From labor, from stolen labor, they gain it from that politically. And this is the evils of democracy. This is one of the evils of democracy, of the many evils, right? Not only does it promote collectivism on a foundational level, because things are seen as in question of groups now, or different competing factions, if you will. But it also, it essentially it's an excuse for the state to get involved in every little aspect of our lives. Because, I mean, all a special interest group has to do is pass a lot of money, and now the government, taxes everyone for 25 cents in order to give a small group of people a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's just ridiculous, right? We know that. The libertarian, he's continuing on here, the libertarian analysis superbly explained the political history of the world and combined with free market economics, analyzed depressions, modern warfare, and revolutions, describing their causes and predicting the futility of political solutions. Right? Let's get into some real historicism here. When libertarianism began to organize itself, though much of the movement was bought off with yet another political party, to understand the libertarian fallacy, consider its insight in other terms. Oppenheimer and Knock pointed out that there were only two ways to accumulate wealth: food, shelter, tools, and entertainment, and etc., etc. One could produce some of these things and trade for other things, or one could steal these produced goods. Those are all the choices there is. They named the productive way the economic means, and the parasitic way the political means. Such a true statement, right? So if we know that the political process is parasitical, how are we going to then use the parasites for our benefit in order to somehow diminish the power of the parasite? We must use the parasite. Not consistent, right? We need to stop. So Murray Rothbard here, following Ludwig von Mises's Human Action with his own economic treatise, Man, Economy, State, a really good read. I actually suggest all of you guys getting yourself a copy off the Mises Institute. Murray Rothbard added that insight onto Austrian economics in the final chapters. The demand for elucidation was so great that he wrote in detail an entire book on the subject, Power and Market. It is amazing that for a time even Dr. Rothbard forgot his own lesson. The choice was power politics versus market economics. Using political means to achieve free market ends is self-destructive and self-defeating. The recognition of the libertarian incompatibility of status means to anti-statist ends was the first Agorist insight. The recognition of libertarian incompatibility of status means to anti-statist ends was the first Agorist insight. Following that, the new Agorists looked for the proper means to achieve a free society, or at least a fully libertarian society. And they sought the market, the voluntary means only. Can't be stressed enough, ladies and gentlemen. The author of this book and his companions found the counter-economy staring them at the face, and as soon as they thought of looking, the authors of this book and his companions, so the answer was there. It was always there, right? Counter-economy, the level market. The left market, right? The underground market. There's actually a great NPR, like you definitely look it up. North Korea. Now there's a flourishing black market, right? Because people aren't going to stand in line and starve to death from hunger and from thirst and from being exposed to the elements, just because the government couldn't properly provide these things, right? Just because the government had shortages because of its mismanagement, because of its bureaucratic controls. So people resort to trading, even whether it's legal or illegal, and it's illegal to trade, even barter in North Korea, and the market's flourishing over there, or else people would be suffering and dying. So this brings us to Chapter 7, ladies and gentlemen. We're on this next section here, Chapter 7, Agorism. We're reading the Agorist Primer by Samuel Konkin, by the way. I do encourage you guys to crack a brew, sit back, and enjoy the night. I mean, we're hanging out here Saturday night, so I do appreciate you guys tuning in here at the Agora Underground. I don't usually drink beer this clear, but you know it's a summer evening, and got to keep a little hydrated here. So, Chapter 7, Agorism. To understand agorism fully and to compare it to competing ways of thinking, one needs to know two things about it: its goal and its path to that goal. This knowledge is crucial to evaluating all ideologies. The goal is living in the agora, and the path is expanding counter-economics. Remember our constant, if not nagging, emphasis on consistency, both internally and with reality. Agorism must have a path consistent with its goal and a goal consistent with its path. Makes sense, right? The axioms of agorism. A free society is the goal of many people. Not all of them agorists or even libertarians. Agorists can see nothing but a free market in a free society. After all, who or what will prevent it? The first axiom of agorism is the closest approach to a free society is an uncorrupted agora, or an open marketplace. What a joke, right? That we call the Obama healthcare exchange the marketplace. Like, talk about Orwellian doublespeak, right? An axiom is a principle or premise of a way of thinking. It is arrived at by insight, induction, and observation of nature. Theorems are arrived at deductively from axioms. A zeroth axiom of agorism might be: there are no contradictions in reality, and theory must be consistent with reality. Commonly known axioms in philosophy are existence exists and A equals A. Well-known mathematical axioms are things equal to another thing are equal to each other, and a statement leading to a contradiction with a theorem or axiom is then false. This is the deductive or the rational branch of epistemology, the study of knowledge. There's the deductive reasoning, there's rationale, there's axioms, there's deducing logic. This is the mental, right? The mentally rationale path towards gaining knowledge, if you will, and then obviously the empirical, right? The those things observed with our senses. Conkin continues here. The first 6 chapters of this primer preceded the actual presentation of agorism to give you, the reader, enough understanding of economics, counter-economics, and libertarianism to see from where the insights that produced agorism were derived. They were not chosen arbitrarily, but rather as a result of years of bitter experience and in some cases furious battles and acts of resistance. The hardcore agorists had to have something worth dying for, and for more important, something worth living for. The second axiom of agorism is that the agora, the market, self-corrects for small perturbations of corruption. This axiom leads us to a far more detailed picture of what our nearly free society would look like. It means simply that free market entities would defend the free market. People have to choose to do it, of course, but the incentive offering of subjective value satisfaction will be present to motivate them to do so, and will be sufficient to motivate enough people to do so. Occasional criminals will be discovered, sought, found, apprehended, tried, sentenced, compelled to deliver restitution, and if possible deterred from further actions. The third axiom of agorism is the moral system of any agora is compatible with pure libertarianism. This axiom means that life and property are safe from all those who act morally in this society. We will describe this in the next section, but let us complete the axioms first. The fourth axiom of the agorism is agora in part is agora in whole. To a workable approximation, the corruption of an agora raises protection costs and risks. This axiom's use will become blindingly clear when we deal with the path. Agorism has more theory, but it is derived from these axioms. For the professional logisticians tripping across the theory for the first time, I need to add a fifth axiom for completion, and that is agorism qua theory is an open system. This simply means that we may discover and add on other axioms, then check to see how consistent they are with what we already have. So this is pretty good points here, especially this last the fourth axiom, essentially that the corruption of the agora raises protection costs and risks. So if the agora is compromised, right? Just a clear example here, an easy example would be the drug war, right? So the agora, the marketplace, has been compromised, has been corrupted, right? There is no free market when it comes to drugs, right? Substances. So essentially, it's a black market when it should be gray, when it should be unregulated, uncontrolled, and perfectly legal, so long as it's voluntary, right? So it's black, and because of that, because it's forbidden by the state apparatus, these voluntary actions that hurt only those that are partaking in those things, and that's even questionable to what degree. But since that market has been corrupted, the risk in engaging in that market and the cost, right, of protecting yourself in that marketplace go up. Right, this is just a basic observation. So I don't know if there's an actual economic term for it. I should have done that homework on that, but I'm sure there is. You know, the negative effects of on the exchange of goods and services when the government criminalizes it or puts regulations on it, licensings on it. And I really like how he ends it here with the agorism being an open system. You know, that's great. You know, open source. You know, we're against intellectual property, and we're for constantly changing our philosophy to adapt the truth. Just bring it with some consistency. Bring some objectivism into it. Bring some science. Bring some facts. Bring some reason, deductive logic. Bring something, right, in order to substantiate your beliefs. Don't just, oh, well, I heard it, or well, that's just the way it is, or ridiculousness, right? You're just throwing away your brain at that point. So he continues on here. The goal of Agora. With that short burst of hard philosophy in the last section, we are ready to picture the society we are aiming for. The goal of Agorism is the Agora. The society of the open marketplace is near to untainted by theft, assault, and fraud as can be humanly attained, is as close to a free society as can be achieved. And a free society is the only one in which each and every one of us can satisfy his or her subjective values without crushing others' values by violence or coercion. It's a bit late to notice, perhaps, but if your highest values require murder and theft, you will not like the Agora. Still, you have not wasted your time, as you have just read an introduction to the thinking of your worst enemy. Science fiction has given us many convincing portrayals of future societies, from the grotesquely tyrannical 1984 to the transitional to freedom, the moon is a harsh mistress, kings of the high frontier, to actual free market anarchies that accidentally arose. The Syndic, the Great Explosion, the Probability Broach. One even portrayed a likely scenario for an Agorist revolution, alongside night. Still, we cannot predict or foresee all the changes. Fortunately, we can get a good picture of an Agorist society by picking out those changes from our present state of societies that must occur, or we simply don't have Agorism. Our axioms give us that much, at least. So states will be gone, roads will be run by competing market companies and kept in repair for a change to attract to attract more customers. Then again, cars may levitate over the roads for all we know, or fly or take tunnels to preserve scenery. If you can think of one good reason to do something some way in a free market, it will be tried, and many ways will work at the same time for different reasons. Yeah, it's very true. I mean, innovation, right? The brilliance of standing on the we really are only brilliant because we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? We're standing on the shoulders of those that preceded us. And if it wasn't for their efforts upon the efforts of those before them, if it wasn't for all their efforts, we wouldn't be where we are today. So this is a really good point, how the market allows for the best innovations and the best ideas to come forward, right? Because they're free and there's no restrictions on such things, and there's no inhibitors, right, to such investments. The post office will be gone, and mail, if not replaced by email entirely, will be efficiently and cheaply delivered ever faster. War will be gone, defense budgets will be gone, taxes will be gone. You will pay for what you get only when you want it, unless what you want is a gift, or unless what you get is a gift, right? You can want a gift all you want, doesn't mean you're going to get it. I repeat, and cannot emphasize enough, or wax floridly enough, the opportunities in freedom explode into the unimaginable. The sheer complexity of all possible choice moves to the infinite as restrictions approach zero. That's so true. I mean, that's amazing, right? I mean, we have 7 billion people on this planet, and we have kids in Africa figuring out how to build generators out of electrical trash from the first world, right? If that's what a mind in those situations is capable of, just imagine if we got rid of the state, how many minds in China can be freed to explore and invent and transform the things around them. It's amazing. I mean, how many minds in Latin America can be freed, from the crap they're having to live under right now. Brazil comes to mind with all this FIFA World Cup crap. Just an excuse to get the state up in people's lives and the hood that the state created to begin with. It just pisses me off sometimes, really, really bad. So let us focus very narrowly only on one business in the totally free marketplace. Justice. Justice is a business. It's not free. Someone must pay for it working. While justice in the abstract is not an economic question, remember the word fear of Chapter 1. The obtaining of justice is an economic service. Consider this illustration. Your completely tricked out media center is stolen from your home. You notify laissez-faire insurance and protection company immediately. As fast as modern technology permits, you receive an identical screen receiver, game station, speakers, cables, and a sack full of remotes to replace the original, with downloads of any programs you missed in the interterm. You have achieved full restoration of your subjective value to the condition it would have been had there been no act of aggression. Surely that is the goal of justice. Now, how is this paid for in a free market, consistently with our understanding of economics and libertarian morality? The moral position first. You delegate LFI and PC as your agent, laissez-faire protective company, as your agent to use defensive force to regain your missing property, and all expenses incurred. If LFI PC attempted to extract more from the ultimately caught theft, they're on their own. The thief's insurance and protection company is entitled to defend the thief, if they overpass the boundary, right, of stealing more than what was needed to be stolen back. Costs are paid for in 3 ways. First, as insurance, a small number of criminals may elude even the highly effective, super technologically technological, extremely competitive protection agencies of the Agorist future. Insurance is simply sharing the risk of something happening with all others. Subscribing to LFI and PC as the odds of theft of a thief, as the odds of a thief getting away with it approach zero, your premium approaches zero. Second, as protection, you install locks and detectors, alarms, and maybe even booby traps. Actually, since your premiums will go down as you make yourself aggression proof, protection will incur minimal additional costs. Third, as restitution, the aggressor, when apprehended, pays LFI 1. The cost of replacement of the purloined or damaged goods, 2. Interest for the time the goods were stolen, and 3. Any cost related to apprehension, including fees for investigators, arresting agents, arbitrators, market judges, and if still necessary, enforcers' charges to reclaim your property. And this is a really good point as far as the point of the market putting in incentives to want to save, for you to save money. So if you're paying a security agency to watch over your house, right, the more sure, they might install their cameras into your outside perimeter, or they'll have that option available, or they'll give you all these options. But the more options that you provide on your own, they're going to be incentives to get a deduction on your cost, right? So you provide, you have a triple bolt door, front door. Your windows have bars over them. You form a community watch group with your neighborhood. All these things would be incentive to then have lower premiums in this area, right? When the insurance company is covering, because there's less likelihood of a crime happening. A good example of that, of thinking that too, would be like health insurance, right? I mean, health insurance now in the current Obamacare nation, there's no incentive, since we're all paying what what the government says you have to pay, and it has nothing to do with how much of the treatment you actually, how many of the services you actually get personally. Then there's no incentive to want to quit eating that cheeseburger and that the ice cream when you have diabetes. There's no incentive, because you know that the costs are going to get taken care of anyway, right? Whereas if you have private health insurance, truly private health insurance, get rid of the FDA, get rid of the AMA to start, right? If we had truly private insurance, then there would be deductions if you don't smoke, if you are exercise, if you're a vegetarian, if you live away from power plants, the list goes on and on and on and on. So that's really a key, it's a really key importance there, especially for all you statist liberal, or fake liberals, right? Let's get that one straight. Statist, let's just leave them as statist collectivists. For all you statist collectivists out there, you can't get those results. So you can't get those results of inhibiting crime, or deterrence, right, within the state apparatus. There is no deterrent to commit a crime, or no incentive to stop a crime from happening under the state right now, right? The state's only there to prosecute after a crime has been committed, not to prevent a crime from happening. So prevention is not the issue with government monopoly. It's only persecution after the occurrence has taken place. And I like here how Konkin outlines the cost that the aggressor would have to pay. Right? Have to pay to replace the goods. Will have to pay for the time that the person had to deal with not having their goods. You steal someone's car and they work at some big business, that they're a big executive or something. I mean, yeah, sure, they could have gotten to work some other way, but you inhibit them from getting to work. Should that be part of the charge? Probably. This is really good stuff, because this kind of flies in the face of Agorism as some kind of mutualism, or some kind of a socialist wing of market anarchism, which technically mutualism and socialism don't even fit under market, any form of market. So let's just move past that. So So he continues on here, page 76. Note all differences between statism and agorism. First, in a state, you can expect nothing from the police if you report a criminal. Maybe someday you'll get your property back. If the criminal is ever caught, and when they're through using the components as evidence, since the odds of police accomplishing this are less than 10%, your insurance premiums, if the government still allows insurance companies, reflects the sharing of the high risk of theft, plus whatever taxes the state tax on, plus the inefficiencies and additional costs of government regulation of the insurance industry. So many times people don't realize that, right? Oh, insurance companies are so expensive and their premiums suck. Well, yeah, you're being forced by the state to buy them, right? You're being forced by the state to buy your car insurance. You have no option whether to opt out or not. The car insurances are being highly regulated and taxed. They have to pass that cost on to somebody. It's coming down to you, the consumer. Not why are they going to pay it out of pocket? What, they're just going to go to work to pay the state? Let's see here. So he continues on. If the government still allows insurance companies to reflect the sharing of the high risk of theft plus whatever taxes the state tax on. Okay, so did you ever try to collect insurance? Notice the form filling and red tape, just like any other government bureaucracy imposed on a supposedly free enterprise. Second, in the state, you are under the control of the state in a criminal proceeding, even though you are the victim. You will be told when to appear, where to go, and you will be forced to see the case through even if you change your mind. In the Agora, should the matter go to arbitration, you will be required to report your loss since you want it replaced. That's all. The theft may even have been recorded on video, but even if not, the protection company's detectives do all the work. You stand back or go about your business and let them do their jobs. That's all. You may never be called again, even if the thief is caught or convicted and compelled to provide restitution. If LFI, the Laissez-Faire Protection Agency, needs more testimony from you, they will ask you to attend the arbitration, and if they err, they will pay for the error. Should they need you inordinately, they will pay you for your trouble, or they will let you go and lose the case if you want too much for your time. And I'm sure that would be settled in the contract, all those points. Let's see here. Third, continues on here. Third, in a state, everything is monopolized. Your appeal is to another judge who works for the state too. In the Agora, competition and choice is everywhere. There are plenty of insurance and protection companies from which to choose, all eager for your business. They can choose from a number of crack detectives, all competing to show that they are the best investigators. Should the matter go to arbitration, a number of arbitrators are competing for the position, hoping to prove themselves the fairest and most worthy of your company's hire. Furthermore, if crime risks go up in your neighborhood, it is in the interest of your protection company and those companies of your neighbors to hire protectors or guards to patrol your area. Unless you attack your neighbor, their protectors will never threaten you. Unlike the police, right? Protecting your neighborhood. They're threatening you all the time you drive in and out. Fourth, in a state, your police protection is just as likely to arrest you for some crime that has no victim. There is no such victimless crimes in the Agora. So fourth, in a state, right, the police protection is just as likely to arrest you for some crime that has no victim, right? Not wearing your seatbelt, smoking a doobie, right? Walking around smoking a doobie, I don't know, selling lemonade, right? Having a garage sale without a license, all these things. Victimless crimes, not even crimes, right? Just victimless breaking of regulation. Fifth, the rights of the victim, you, can never be overridden by the rights of the real criminal. Under Agorist justice, the arbitrator rules on the evidence that you are or are not entitled to restitution of goods, or even parts of the body, as technology makes that possible. Interest for time lost and your protection agency's expenses, including detection and apprehension costs. The moment the line is crossed into extracting more from your media center thief than full restitution or restoration, all costs incurred, you or your company become the aggressor, and the ex-thief's protection agency will now honor its contract to defend him. All insurance and protection contracts in an Agora society will stipulate that you cannot be protected from restoration proceedings after the protection company has defended you up to a fair arbitration. This ideal, seldom lived up to by the state, is called due process. The difference between the Agorist protection and the state policing has many more characteristics, but this list gives you a good idea. There is nothing the state can offer you in moral protection that the market cannot offer. And the free market will function faster and better than the state. It's true that an occasional market company may be unsound, but you will always have the option of switching to a better competitor. Under a state, you know your protection services will always be the same, poor and with no alternative. The state offers one thing the free market cannot and will not offer: aggression. You'll need state police to attack them for the crimes of belonging to the wrong religious group. I'm sorry, I skipped a sentence there. So the state offers one thing the free market cannot and will not offer. That's aggression, right? Because it's no longer part of the market. It becomes criminal activity when you aggress upon another. If you wish to attack your immediate neighbors, you'll need state police to attack them for the crimes of belonging to the wrong religious group, or of taking the wrong intoxicant, or performing sex in a way of which you disapprove. And of course, your neighbors will need state police to attack you for similar reasons. If you want to attack faraway neighbors, you need a state army. Or maybe you want to live in peace and freedom and will be satisfied with protection and defense. We can only hope so. And that's why we're doing what we do, right? We're trying to promote a society where people are willing to voluntarily submit themselves to private law, right? To said arbitration, to decided agreed upon arbitration proceedings. I mean, how badass is that, right? I want to go work for you. Cool, let's make a contract, and if there's anything ever broken between us, we both agreed to go to such and such arbitrator, you know, and both of our defense agencies notarize our contract in order to ensure that they're going to stand behind it. I mean, it's just so wow, right? Rothbard was definitely a genius, and you know, had some aspects to him that can't fully hate the guy forever, you know, just because he promoted voting for GW a little bit or something of the sort. I don't know. I was only a baby. I was a little boy at that. I was like 8 years old or something. All right, so let's see here. Am I going to finish? Comments, because I don't know how to do this cool click on the button link, but and we pointed out where Konkin, you know, one of the main things that Konkin, he you know, when he pointed out that remember when he pointed out that capitalism, the phrase capitalism came from that guy Hodgkins, Thomas Hodgkins or something, and it's like, no, that wasn't coined by him. It was coined by Turgot, right? The French economist who used capitalism and capitalists in the good light, in the sense of those, you know, those workers, the laborers that save beyond their expenditures, beyond their consumption, and invest in capital, and then this capital is later invested in entrepreneurial enterprises. These are capitalists, and that's what Turgot so eloquently provided. So if Konkin only got that little point corrected in this book, I mean, so far I would agree with everything in here. Let's see here. We got about 5 minutes here. Well, we've been breaking this down. Definitely check out Truth Exposed Radio on the Logos Radio Network. That's more of a step-by-step process. If you're in Austin, the Austin area, check us out. We're on Wednesday, 6 to 8. Definitely check out some of the different shows on this network. Give them some time to see what's up. Give them your ear. And what else? I mean, we just need to find ways to get the message out there. I'm in San Antonio, and I go downtown. Haven't gone in a while. I'm in the process of moving, but I'm definitely going to go back tomorrow. And talk to some people down there. I always go down there, hold the sign, wave my flag, and talk to people, pass out flyers, and talk to people about anarchy, and just get it out there. Talk to the cops, read some Anatomy of the State out loud, really loud. It's good stuff. I mean, people get it. Some people get it. It's just knowing, I guess, how to. We have to promote this as much as we can, right? Because we have to get out of the internet and into the streets. And I'm gonna bring some videos of what we've been doing here in San Antonio, as far as I've been editing them, and it just takes so long, especially when you got work and stuff to do. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be unloading here and complaining and everything, but you guys are great. You guys definitely listening in are awesome. Do appreciate you guys listening in, and just keep reading, keep studying, and keep promoting this stuff in the nicest, most sincere way, right? But with some tenacity, right? With some vibrance in it, because we need to get this ship turned around, or else something bad's gonna happen, right? I mean, we already know the cyclical pattern of history, and it definitely seems like this whole Russia-Ukraine thing, the United States. I mean, it just every president gets worse and worse and worse. I mean, how much worse can it get, right? Until we're finally in complete and utter slavery and have a boot on our face constantly, right? We're just licking boot nonstop. How long is that going to be? A couple more years, a couple more presidents, 2 or 3 more presidents? I don't even know what 2 or 3 presidents, what they're going to be doing down the line, Just drones striking houses just because you're visiting certain websites of certain individuals. I mean, it's just you don't even know anymore. I mean, anything to defend the homeland, right? And the fatherland, and the Deutschland. I mean, a bunch of crap. But yeah, and just get this collectivism out of our faces, out of our minds, right? On every level. Quit looking at people as what part of they belong to, what group they associate with, they can be cataloged into. Quit doing that and look at people as individuals, right? We need to become humanitarian. That's why we're here. That's why we're listening to these shows. That's why we're anarcho-capitalists. That's why we're objectivists. That's why we're agorists. We believe that the human potential is almost infinite, right? With technology and with cooperation, it can reach the stars. So we just need to make sure that when we're fighting the state, we use non-statist means to do so. Got to quit voting and got to quit calling on our politicians to change that and do this. And quit asking government to be the solution and quit using government to get rid of government, right? Let's join the mob and to get rid of the mob. Yeah, good luck. You're going to end up dead. Right, in the back of a car, in the bottom of a lake. So, we need to get off this boat. We need to get off this boat, and the quicker we can get into the counter economy and counter economics and living off the grid, and in community, the quicker we can do that. And I highly suggest you guys look into Free Detroit and their platform. Check us out on Free San Antonio. We're trying to get it building going. And I just appreciate you guys for listening in. I'll be back next week. This was the Agora Underground. Comrade Dick signing off. Ladies and gentlemen, laissez-faire to you.